readers. Last week, we read an article by Richard Allington called Every Child, Every Day. I'm going to remember when we were reading that together. And when we were reading this, well, actually this was probably last month. As we were reading that article, we chose values. We chose values of how we wanted to be as readers. And the values that you chose, that we learned about, were read something that he or she chooses every day, reads accurately for 60 minutes, reads something that he or she understands, talks to peers about reading and writing, and listens to an adult fluently read aloud. These are all the different ways that we talked about as a classroom community about how we wanted to be as readers, what values we had as readers. Today we're going to do a little check-in. We're going to do a little check-in. Every new unit, we like to do a little check-in to see if our reading aligns with our values that we chose as a classroom community. So turn to tell your partner, how do you think you are doing reading something that you choose? Are you able to read something that you are choosing every day? Turn to your partner. What are the different ways that you are able to choose what you are reading? Right, come back in 5, in 4, in 3, in 2, in 1. As I was walking around, I heard Jalen say, one way that I choose books that I like is I go to the school library and I flip through the book and I see if the book seems interesting, and if it does, I check out that book. I heard some friends say, sometimes when I'm looking through books for a long time and I'm not sure, I'm not interested in a book, I haven't found a book that caught my attention, I might look through our books on Epic or some of the collections that we've created together, especially in our nonfiction unit. I heard some friends say that they look through our classroom library because we have all made bins as a classroom community based on the topics that you wanted to read about. Another thing that we talked about is reading for 60 minutes a day. This is something that we read in the article, but also something that we thought about because of the way that Jaden was reading. Every day, Jaden asked, oh, how long did we read for today? We might say, oh, today we read for 40 minutes in class, and Jaden would say, oh, I'm going to read for another 20 minutes at home. And that's how we decided as a classroom community we wanted to be reading every day. You decided together that you would read for 60 minutes a day. However much you read at home, you would read the rest at school. Is that right? Yeah. That's what you chose, and that's what's reflected in your reading logs. As I've been checking your reading logs, many of you have been able to do that. The next thing we talked about as our classroom values is reading something that he or she understands. We've done so much learning and reading. We did our fiction unit where we learned about how we brought characters to life and how we grew ideas about characters. And now we've been doing a lot more work, especially in our reading notebooks in our nonfiction unit. And we've been doing a lot more stopping and jotting. Turn to talk to your partner. How has your stopping and jotting been going? Has it been going really well? Is it something that you need to be working on? Or should you need to grow?
Very good because I can learn to write down a lot of facts that I know.
Alright, so back in 5, in 4, in 3, in 2, in 1. I heard some readers say stopping and jotting is something that they do regularly, like they read a couple pages and they're stopping and jotting their ideas. I heard some people say they often stop and jot when they get stuck because they want to go back and reread. I heard some readers say that they're thinking about their reading a lot while they're reading, and sometimes they forget to stop and jot, and that's one thing that they're working on. Okay, the next one is talking to peers about reading and writing. So we do this in a variety of ways. Many of you are still doing book buzzes on our fifth grades. We've been doing a lot of book tastings lately. Some of you are writing book reviews and putting them in books in our library, also on our little picture bookshelf. We've been doing book talk where we sit in a circle. And then one thing we've been doing a lot lately is talking to our partner about what we're reading and learning. Turn and tell your partner, how do you feel about talking to your partner about reading? How do you feel? When I'm talking to my partner, I feel.
So when reading to our partner, I feel good. I get to share my
Right, back in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. The last value that we talked about was listening to an adult fluently read aloud. That one was my job, right? Listening to me read aloud each day. So a lot of books I read, maybe we're talking a lot about our social and emotional work. We've been reading a lot about emotion spot. We read picture books all the time. We read Year of the Dog, and right now we're reading Tiger Rising. Turn and tell your partner, how do you feel about our daily read aloud when the teacher is reading to you? How does it make you feel?
I feel excited. I know about your book and I read it.
I feel Wait, I need a break.
Come back in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As I was listening to this group, these readers were sharing that one thing that they really enjoy about listening to a read aloud is that one, they're learning new words, and two, some readers were sharing that some of the books that we're reading maybe is not something that they would have read on their own, but as they're listening to their teacher read, that they can do a lot of thinking about the reading. And that's really exciting for Lisa. For me, that's like my biggest joy of the day, right? When I do my biggest joy of the day. So I just wanted to do another check-in about how you feel our reading time is aligned with our values. Because if the way that I'm teaching reading to you does not match the values that you chose, then we would have to change the way we're being taught, right? So it seems like most of our reading lessons are tied to the values that you chose. Okay. So readers, now we're going to go into our nonfiction unit here. So we are learning about what powerful nonfiction readers do as readers. And we have already learned, we just learned the last one yesterday. The first one was choosing to be fascinating. Choosing to be fascinated. Right? So as you're reading, you're thinking, wow, I never knew this, or that's weird. I forgot we were reading about ferrets. That's right, Jade. Jade was reading about ferrets, and oh my god, when I came over to Jade and I was working with Jade, she stopped and jotted so many things that was so interesting about ferrets. This is miraculous, not those things. And then reading intensely. This is what we learned about. As you're reading, you might say, I noticed, or I am learning. This one seems to be one of your favorite ones, as it's exciting for you to bring it back and share it with your partners during reading time. Choosing books that are just right. This is the lesson that you learned with Miss Holbein while I was out that day. When I was doing training, teacher training. Choosing books that are just right. We had that chart where you were choosing books that are maybe not too hard, not too easy, but just right. And then checking back in with predictions. This one was really aligned with our narrative unit in the last one, where you're making predictions and then you're checking to see if your predictions match what happened in the book or if they were different. And then noticing confusion and rereading to clear things up. So today, readers, go ahead and think about what your goal is going to be during Reader's Workshop today. Are you choosing to be fascinated? Are you going to be reading intensely, thinking I know this or I am learning? Are you working on choosing a just right book? Are you working on checking in with predictions? Or are you, your goal is to notice confusion and then rereading to clear things up? Think about what your goal is today. Turn to your partner. My goal today is to.
My goal
When you're ready, you can go ahead and stick your name up next to your personal goal today. Then you can get started reading with Reader's Workshop.
Oh my God. Don't get out of here. Alex, read. Today is to read intensely and think.
Oh, reading intensely thinking? Okay. Tell me what, sorry, go ahead and tell me what you're going to write.
I am going to write about how many public libraries there are, and most of the libraries are about 16,000 library buildings.
Okay, can I ask you, how did you choose this book about libraries? Why did you choose that book today?
When I looked inside this book, I got really interested about it, so that's why I decided to choose this book.
Jade, I want to give you a compliment. I noticed you're the type of reader who chooses books based on your personal interests And then when you wanted to learn more about something or something that you were reading intensely about, you were going to stop and jot. That's one way that readers keep track of things that they're learning. Megan, what are you working on today?
I'm working on, I think it was getting book just right.
Oh, okay. Tell me about that.
I'm reading the book called Iron.
Mm-hmm.
It's one volume.
Mm-hmm.
It can be used for many things, like building automobiles, building machines, and
Mm-hmm. So tell me, how do you know when a book is too hard or too easy or just right? What are some of the tools or strategies that you use to figure that out?
I should at the library. There's a book. I just go through it. Look at the pages to see if it's all baby insects develop inside them. Some human insects focusing like notice things.
Oh, okay. So what are some things that you're noticing in your reading today?
Noticing that one of the dinosaurs and there's lips. One of them is small and one of them is big.
Uh-huh.
And that's it. And then I predict that the T-Rex will win because it's huge jaws.
Because that's huge jaws. Now, can I ask you, how do you keep track of your predictions or your noticings?
I put them on sticky notes.
Oh, is that what you're going to do? Yeah, one of the things that we do as readers is we can stop and jot and mark in our books. But I noticed that you normally do that.
Readers, ready? Readers, I've been reading this book all about mummies, and my personal goal today was to keep track of some of my noticing, and I wanted to read you a part in my book, Lovely Lady Mummy. Over 2,000 years ago, a wealthy Chinese woman known as Lady Di died. Her body was treated with salt. Salt takes water out of the body, which helps to keep it from rotting. The body was wrapped in 20 layers of silk. Lady Di was put in a nest of 6 beautifully painted coffins. The tomb was shut with clay and mud. Orphan found Lady Di in 1972. Her body was in such good shape that her skin and hair were still soft. Ugh. But as I was reading this, I learned something really interesting. At first I thought mummies were only made in Egypt or in places that were not foggy. That's what we learned earlier, right? But today I learned that mummies were also made in other countries, like in China. So that's something I might stop and jot it out. At first I thought, but now I think, and I'm going to jot it and I'm going to stick it in my book. That's also something that readers can stop and jot to do. Off you go.